Hello everyone, my name is David and today I'm going to teach you guys how to install Ubuntu 21.10, which is the newest version of Ubuntu that just came out, I believe yesterday. And we're going to do this installation in Oracle VirtualBox, which is this program right here. This program allows us to install a virtual operating system within our existing operating system. So if we're running like Windows or Mac, or even another version of Linux, we can install the latest version of Ubuntu just to test it out within our system and not to have to mess things up within our Windows environment or Mac environment or existing Linux environment. So without further ado, the first thing that we're gonna do for this tutorial is go to ubuntu.com, which is the main website of Ubuntu Linux. And I'm gonna leave you guys the link on the description, and we're gonna go to download, and we're gonna go to 21.10, which is the latest version of the software Ubuntu. We're gonna wait a few seconds, and our download is gonna get started. Depending on the speed of our internet, this will take, I don't know, like it says an hour, but sometimes it does it in like 20 minutes and so forth. I already have it downloaded, so I don't have to download it again. So I'm gonna cancel it. But as you can see in my downloads, somewhere over here I have it. Yeah, there you go. Ubuntu 21.10 desktop AMD64. So I have it downloaded, and we're also gonna have to download VirtualBox. So also I'll leave you the link in the description for the main page, and then when you go to the main page, you're gonna go to download VirtualBox 6.1. Then you're gonna have to pick which operating system you're running. So if you're running Windows 10, Windows 11, or whatever version of Windows you're running, you click it on Windows. Here, it's gonna start downloading it for you. I don't have Windows. If you do Mac OS, it's gonna start downloading the Mac OS version. I don't have Mac OS. I have a Linux distribution, which is what I'm running. So I'm gonna click Linux, and then I'm gonna click the version of Linux that I'm running. So in this case, it's an older version of Linux. And I'm not gonna wait for the download since I already have it installed. But basically, it's one of those like typical double click on it, next, and install the program just as if you were to install anything else. I already have it installed, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open VirtualBox, which is the program that we're gonna use to install our operating system. Sorry about that glitch there. But this is our Oracle VirtualBox machine. And basically I already have a version of Ubuntu 21.10 installed that I did prior to the tutorial. I recorded a Spanish version of the tutorial, so I can show you guys what it looks like. This is a virtual machine running Ubuntu Linux within my operating system. So as you can see, it boots up. And then there is my Ubuntu Linux machine. I can open the terminal. I can do all sorts of like terminal commands and things like that, but I'm just gonna power it off. And I'm gonna show you guys how to make that happen for you guys. So the first thing you're gonna do once you have the Ubuntu Linux software downloaded, the ISO image and the VirtualBox program installed, so you're gonna open the program. You're not gonna see any machines over here, and then you're gonna click on new to create a new machine. You're gonna give it a name, and I'm gonna name it Ubuntu tutorial. But it really doesn't matter. As long as you put the name Ubuntu there, it's gonna detect the type of operating system and the version of operating system that you're gonna do. And so that's what we want. Just put Ubuntu, whatever. And then go next. It's gonna ask you how much RAM do you wanna use for your operating system. I want to do 6 gigs of RAM, which is 6,144 megabytes. It doesn't really matter how much you add. I recommend that you add more than 4,000 megabytes because the system requires at least 4 gigabytes of RAM to run, but anywhere within this green bar you can add. Don't go on the orange, don't go on the red, okay? Go next. We're gonna create a virtual hard disk now and go create. It doesn't really matter which format, so I'm just gonna leave it on the first one. That's what I recommend for you guys. And we're gonna do a dynamically allocated hard drive. Basically what that means is that out of the 60 gigs that I'm planning to give, if I'm only using 20, it's only gonna take 20 out of my system. Whereas if I do fixed size, if I give 60, it's gonna take the whole 60 all at once, whether I'm using it or not. So I wanted to do dynamically allocated. So we're gonna do 60 right here. It doesn't really matter how much you give, just as long as you do more than 25, you're good. So we're gonna create it, we're gonna go to settings to set it up for our system. So we're gonna do for system, motherboard, and then processor, we're gonna give it as much CPU as we can, or closely more than one. I'm gonna give it 4 just so that it's a little bit faster. You can give as much as you want as long as you're inside of this green bar. Don't go into the orange. If you have extended features, I recommend that you enable it just so that your system works a little bit faster. In acceleration, just leave it as it is. Display, go and put as much video memory as you can. Enable 3D acceleration if you can. If not, don't worry about it. Now in storage, we see that we don't have an ISO for Ubuntu ready and set up, but we can do that by clicking in this button, and it automatically detected that I have the Ubuntu CD already in my downloads, but it might not do that for you. So if you do add and it takes you to your downloads, you can just select where you have the Ubuntu ISO, and basically you just open it and then you do choose, and there you go. You have the Ubuntu 21.10 ISO. So you do okay. That's all the settings that we need to do for now, and then we're gonna do start the machine. Then it opened in my other window, but basically this is what's gonna show up. So it's gonna tell you that it's gonna start up from the Ubuntu 21.10, which you downloaded from here. Let me get it over there, and then you're gonna do start, and basically it's gonna start the Ubuntu loader. You might see this. Just click enter where it says Ubuntu, and then you're just gonna wait a few seconds for Ubuntu to boot up. I'm actually gonna make this like full screen or full screenish, so that way you guys can see the installation process a little bit better. We're just gonna wait a few seconds, and then the system is gonna welcome us to the installation process. It's gonna give us the option to just try the system without having to install it. I can do that, but I'm not going to, because we're just here to install the system. So I want it to be in English, and I want to just install Ubuntu. For the keyboard layout though, we want to make sure that we're using whatever keyboard we have. So I'm in the US, I have a US keyboard, so I'm just gonna pick that. Then it's gonna ask us what type of installation do we want. So in this case, I only want the minimal installation because I'm testing out the system. This is not something that I'm gonna be using day to day, but it might be for you guys. So if it's something that you're gonna be using day to day, I recommend the normal installation, which installs all sorts of programs and things like that that you might need for everyday uses. For me, I only need a web browser and the basic utilities, and I don't really care for the updates because the system just came out yesterday, so I don't think that there's a lot of updates. But this might be optional for you guys if you want to leave it enable. Basically, this makes the installation as fast as possible, so I'm just going to keep it on minimal for now, and then we're going to do continue. We're gonna wait a couple of seconds here, and basically after this is gonna begin the actual installation. So the first thing that it's gonna ask us is, what do we want to use to install the system? So since we created a virtual hard drive, that's what we're gonna use, and we don't have anything else on it, so we don't care if it does erase disks. Remember, this is the virtual disk of your virtual machine, not your actual computer, so you can erase the entire disk and install Ubuntu, and it's just gonna be in your virtual machine, and then you do install now. You continue to write the changes in your virtual hard disk, and then just wait for a few more seconds, and then it's gonna ask you where you're physically located. This is basically your time zone, and it's primarily just so that you have accurate time in your time and date slot here. In my case, I'm in Utah, USA, so I'm in the same time zone as Denver, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. If you are not, you can just move it whatever time zone you're convenient for. Like there's a Pacific, Los Angeles. I'm in mountains, so I'm gonna leave it here, and then I'm gonna do continue. Then it's gonna ask me for my name. I'm gonna do my name, David. You can pick a password. Since this is just for testing purposes, I'm gonna do a very easy password. I'm gonna log in automatically instead of requiring my password at login. You can choose a more complicated password and require your password at login if this is a machine you're gonna be using, pretty often. But since I'm just testing it, this is sufficient for me. I'm gonna do continue, and then installation is actually going to begin. I'm gonna run you through maybe the welcome thing that Ubuntu gives you. So this is the logo for the newest version. This is the software manager. This allows you to install other programs in Ubuntu. This is where you can listen to music and things like that. It comes with a music player pre-installed, but you can install Spotify or other programs that you might need for music. This comes also with a photo editor, like very minimalistic, but if you want something more fancy, you can install GIMP, which is kind of like an alternative to Photoshop, or like a video editor. Depending on what you do, you can do that. It comes with a web browser, which is Firefox. I don't really like Firefox. I like Google Chrome. So you can install Chromium, which is an open source version of Google Chrome, or the actual Google Chrome. You can install it as well. It comes with LibreOffice if you do the normal installation, which is the free version of Microsoft Office. So you guys can do that too if you need the Office suite for some reason. And finally, it can show you that you can customize your system to look kind of whatever you want. And other than that, it shows you like the forums and things like that where you can ask specific questions about Ubuntu. So now I'm just gonna wait for a moment while the installation is still running, and I'm gonna pause the video just so that the video doesn't have to be that long as far as the installation process goes. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm back. The installation has finished. So it says installation complete, and it just shows us that the system is ready to restart. So I'm just gonna click on that. That's what you should see when the installation is done. And it says to remove the installation medium and press enter. I'm just gonna remove it from here. VirtualBox should have done it automatically, but I'm just gonna make sure that it does it by doing force on mount here. And then I'm gonna do press enter, and then the system is basically fully installed in your virtual machine now. It works just like any other program, and I'll show you exactly how. So we'll just wait a few seconds for the system to boot up, and this is what it looks like. It asks us to connect any online accounts like a Google or Microsoft account or whatever Nextcloud is. I'm not gonna do that right now. I don't want to send my system info, and I don't care for the privacy services, and it's just showcasing a little bit about the software system that you can use to install other programs, which is this right here. So the first thing we're gonna do is make the screen a little bit more comfortable because it's a little bit small to see. So let's try this one, for instance. So the way I did that was by doing right click, display settings, and then resolution. You can kind of play around here and just pick whichever one works best for you. And basically you can set up a few more things like daylight or nightlight, and set your system up the way you want it to be. Like there's other tutorials that I can link in the description so that you guys can do that. But basically this is all you're gonna need. Oh, it's telling me that there's new updates. I'm not gonna do it right now, but you can do it, as soon as you want. But as you can see, we have the terminal, and we can access basic terminal commands. I'm just gonna power the system off, and I'll show you kind of what the system would look like in your computer. So basically, you have your VirtualBox, and then you have your instance of your virtual machine, and then you can start it whenever you want, and then it's gonna open up basically Firefox, or I mean not Firefox, Ubuntu for you. But yeah, this has been all. I'll show you one more time how the system opens up and how you can basically do anything with the system as if you had it installed in your physical computer, but it works just as another program inside of your actual computer. I'm just gonna power off the machine, and that has been all. Thank you. You have a good day.